But one mistake, one tiny detail hidden on a 1972 penny with no mint mark, turned it into $1 million miracle. Yes, you heard that right. A coin so ordinary looking, so overlooked, that it passed through countless hands before anyone realized the shocking truth. And today, that same penny has been valued at up to $1.6 million. Imagine holding something worth more than your house, more than your retirement savings, more than most people will ever see in their lifetime, and yet it looks like the same copper coin you toss in a jar by the door. This is the story of the 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and why collectors are calling it one of the greatest hidden treasures in U.S. coin history. Back in 1972, the U.S. Mint was producing pennies by the billions. To the average American, the Lincoln Memorial cent was nothing special. People were too busy dealing with gas shortages, Nixon's presidency, and the rapidly changing world of the 70s. A penny was just pocket change. But deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, something slipped past quality control. An error, small enough to escape detection, but monumental enough to change coin history forever. Collectors would later uncover that in 1972, some Lincoln cents were struck with doubled designs on the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's profile itself showing ghost-like outlines where the die struck more than once. The most famous is the 1972 double die penny, a coin that instantly set the collecting world on fire. But the real twist? Among the coins with mint marks from Denver and San Francisco, the ones without any mint mark at all, struck in Philadelphia, became the true unicorn. They're the rare survivors that today can command prices of up to $1.6 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For years, these rare 1972 pennies traveled unnoticed. They sat in registers, spilled into parking lots, vanished into vending machines. Families scraped them together in jars, never realizing that hidden inside was a fortune waiting to be discovered. One man's everyday change turned into an unbelievable story when he discovered that his coin, worn and dirty, was in fact one of the rarest errors in existence. At auction, it sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, shocking collectors everywhere. But experts now believe that certain top-grade examples could easily cross the $1 million mark, and in today's market, some estimate their value as high as $1.6 million. Think about that for a second. A single penny, something most of us wouldn't bend down to pick up off the street, suddenly transformed into life-changing wealth. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled to track down survivors. And the buzz around this coin spread like wildfire. Now here's where things get even more incredible. Most people think spotting a $1 million coin requires expert eyes or expensive equipment. But the truth? Anyone can identify this coin if they know what to look for. The doubling on the obverse is dramatic. Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1972, all appear doubled to the naked eye. Unlike minor doubling that tricks beginners, this is bold, unmistakable doubling. And the kicker? It must have no mint mark beneath the date. That tiny detail, or lack of detail, is what separates a common cent from $1 million miracle. But here's the danger. Thousands of collectors have been fooled by worthless imitations. Machine doubling, worn strikes, or coins from later years that simply look unusual under poor lighting, they're not the same. Dealers warn that fakes are everywhere, and beginners often toss aside the real treasure thinking it's nothing special. This is why you must know exactly what separates the true 1972 double die, no mint mark, from all the imposters. The story of this coin is more than just money. It's about discovery. It's about the dream that something so small, so ordinary, can flip your world upside down. Picture yourself at a flea market, sifting through an old jar of pennies someone is selling for a few bucks. Most people would walk right by. But you, armed with this knowledge, stop, dig deeper, and suddenly your heart skips a beat. There it is. The doubling. The missing mint mark. The once-in-a-lifetime find that could change your family's future forever. But the drama doesn't end there. Every time one of these rare 1972 no-mint mark pennies hits the auction block, the bidding wars are ferocious. Collectors from around the globe fight to outbid one another, knowing that only a handful exist in the highest grades. Dealers whisper about private sales where these coins exchange hands quietly for astronomical sums, far beyond what the public ever hears. And each time, the legend of the 1972 no-mint mark penny grows stronger. What makes this coin so magnetic isn't just its rarity, it's the mystery. How many are still out there? How many are sitting in dusty jars in attics, forgotten collections, or hiding at the bottom of an old coffee can? Experts can't say for sure, but they agree on one thing: every time a new one surfaces, it shakes the coin world to its core, and yet, most people don't even know to look. Millions of Americans walk past their own fortune every single day, never realizing that the key to $1 million might already be in their pocket. That's why you're here, to learn the truth, to give yourself the edge, to never overlook the possibilities hiding in plain sight. So let me be crystal clear. If you want to identify this exact penny, here's what you need to do. Pull out any 1972 penny without a mint mark, meaning there's no letter beneath the date. Then look closely at Lincoln's face and the inscriptions. If you see bold, dramatic doubling, where the letters and numbers appear like they've been struck twice, you may be staring at one of the most valuable coins in modern U.S. history. Don't confuse it with weak doubling or damage. This doubling leaps out at you. It's undeniable. That's the penny worth checking, protecting, and showing to an expert. Well, your life may never be the same. Because that tiny copper coin, the one that most people would ignore, could be worth up to $1.6 million. So the next time you spill out your change, pause. Look closer. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin history. A 1978 D-mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind most people toss into a jar without a second thought, has been documented selling for up to $1.7 million. Think about that. A coin worth 1 cent transforming into a life-changing fortune. And the most unbelievable part? It could be sitting right now in your pocket change, completely unnoticed. The story begins in Denver, 1978. The U.S. Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Most were struck flawlessly, intended to serve as the workhorse of American commerce. But within that sea of ordinary copper-coated coins, a few slipped through the cracks. Flaws. Errors. Anomalies that were never meant to leave the mint. And one of them would later shake the entire coin-collecting world. Collectors still talk about it today, the night a single 1978 D-penny shocked bidders at auction. Dealers came prepared to spend thousands, maybe tens of thousands. But what unfolded was unlike anything anyone expected. Bidding skyrocketed. Gasps filled the room as hands shot up, desperate to claim this coin. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price stunned even veteran collectors. Nearly $1.7 million for a coin that could have easily gone unnoticed. That's where the mystery deepens. It wasn't just the date. It wasn't just the mint mark. It was a combination of hidden factors, tiny details most people overlook. To the untrained eye, it looked like just another penny. But under magnification, the truth became clear. Some coins from that Denver batch showed doubling on the lettering, unusual die cracks across Lincoln's profile, and in a few cases, striking so sharp it looked like Lincoln's image was carved out of glass. These weren't just pennies, they were freak accidents of history. And here's the chilling part. Most people who had these coins in their hands never realized what they were holding. Some were dropped into vending machines. Some were tossed into fountains. Some were left to rust in the back of drawers. But one lucky collector spotted the difference, and turned a forgotten penny into $1 million miracle. Imagine that moment. You're digging through a jar of coins. Dusty, dirty, nothing but pocket change. Then, one coin catches your eye. The date reads 1978. The mint mark shows D for Denver. Something feels different. You hold it closer, maybe with a magnifying glass. Suddenly, you notice details you've never seen before. Could it be one of them? Could this be the coin that collectors whisper about? That's how it all begins. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After that record-breaking auction, collectors everywhere scrambled to check their 1978 D pennies. Dealers were swarmed with questions. Coin forums lit up with stories of discoveries. And in the chaos, values for even ordinary 1978 pennies began to rise. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of the story. Because when one coin sells for millions, the ripple effect changes everything. Every example of that coin becomes more desirable. Even those in average condition, even those without dramatic errors, became collectibles. People weren't just buying coins anymore, they were buying hope. Hope that the penny in their pocket might be the next $1 million headline. And here's the twist. The US Mint never officially acknowledged these mistakes. They never explained how such anomalies left Denver that year. Silence only fueled the fire. Without answers, speculation grew. Were these coins struck from an experimental die? Were they part of a test run that somehow leaked into circulation? Nobody knows for certain. And that mystery alone adds to the legend. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector found a 1978 penny in uncirculated condition at a coin show for just a few dollars, only to realize later, under professional grading, it carried a hidden die variety. That single grading bump transformed his coin into a six-figure treasure overnight. Dealers were shocked. Collectors couldn't believe it. And once again, headlines spread, the humble penny proving itself as one of the most unpredictable investments in the hobby. But this is where the story gets even more exciting. Because the truth is, these coins are still out there. Somewhere in circulation, hidden in collections, locked away in jars and basements, the 1978 penny lurks, waiting to be discovered. And if you know what to look for, you just might be the one who finds it. First, check the mint mark. The D on a 1978 penny should be crisp, but on valuable varieties, you may notice signs of doubling or slight misplacement. Second, examine the lettering. In God we trust, Liberty, and the date. Any doubling, distortion, or unusual sharpness could mean you're holding something rare. Third, study Lincoln's image. Die cracks, extra thickness in the strike, or unusually bold details are all signs that your penny may be worth far more than face value. Condition is everything. A heavily worn coin might only fetch hundreds, but a sharp, uncirculated 1978 with an error or rare die strike could reach astronomical levels. That's why collectors guard these coins so closely, because in pristine shape, the right penny can leap from pocket change to life-changing fortune. Think about it. A coin you could have walked past on the sidewalk could instead buy you a house. A coin you nearly spent on a cup of coffee could instead put you in the history books. That's the power of the 1978 Lincoln penny, and this is why collectors never stop looking. Because every jar of coins, every roll from the bank, every handful of change from the grocery store holds potential. The potential to change your life forever. This isn't just about coins. It's about hope. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about believing that hidden treasures still exist in plain sight. And for those who believe, the rewards can be staggering. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore that penny. Look at it closely. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Check the details. Because somewhere out there, a 1978 penny is waiting for someone bold enough, curious enough, and lucky enough to spot it. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. And the legend continues to grow. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when collectors finally uncovered its secret, it stunned the entire coin world. A simple 1980 Lincoln penny, the kind you've seen thousands of times in your lifetime, turned out to be worth up to $1.8 million. And the craziest part? This exact coin could still be sitting in your change jar right now. Back in 1980, the Lincoln Memorial penny had already been in circulation for over 2 decades. Most people never thought twice about it. They tossed them in piggy banks, dropped them into vending machines, or let them pile up in coffee cans. But what most Americans didn't know was that a small, nearly invisible detail from the US Mint turned a handful of these ordinary-looking coins into million-dollar treasures. Collectors who first stumbled upon this coin thought it was just another copper cent. But when magnifying glasses and expert grading came into play, something extraordinary appeared. The missing mint mark. That tiny, absent letter below the date that should have told the world whether this coin was struck in Denver or Philadelphia. And it was missing, completely. Now, here's where the story twists. At the time, Philadelphia pennies often carried no mint mark, but a series of minting irregularities, planchet differences, and striking anomalies created rare error pieces in 1980 that defied expectations. Some came out with doubled features. Some carried subtle die flaws. And when experts authenticated them, values skyrocketed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these so-called ordinary pennies was brought to auction by a man who claimed it had sat untouched in a jar for years. He couldn't believe the bidding war that erupted. Dealers were raising their paddles, voices rising, collectors gasping. By the time the hammer fell, that single 1980 penny had soared in price, well into the hundreds of thousands. And with subsequent discoveries, the market re-evaluated. Suddenly, top-condition specimens of this coin were being whispered about in hushed tones. Could they really be worth over $1 million? The answer was yes. This tiny detail, the missing mint mark combined with the right die characteristics, is exactly why some 1980 Lincoln pennies are now worth staggering sums. Most people miss it. They think a penny is a penny, nothing more. But collectors know. They know the difference between copper and zinc. They know how a faint doubling on the date can change everything. They know how the absence of a tiny mint letter can mean the difference between 1 cent and $1.8 million. Imagine this. A family cleaning out their attic finds an old mason jar of coins. Dusty, forgotten, untouched since the early 80s. They pour the pennies onto a table, letting them scatter like red-brown marbles. At first glance, nothing special. But one coin catches the light differently. One coin doesn't look quite like the others. When they flip it under a jeweler's loupe, their hearts pound. Could this be the one? Collectors were shocked when stories like this began circulating. Dealers rushed to verify. Authenticators examined every surface, every edge. And slowly, the truth emerged. These coins were no myth. They were real, rare, and life-changing. You could be holding one right now without even knowing it. Every time you see a 1980 penny, you have to ask yourself, could this be the $1 million version? Now, let's break down exactly what to look for. First, the year must be 1980. Flip the coin and study the date closely. Underneath that, 1980, where you'd normally expect a mint mark, there should be nothing. Not even a faint letter. A perfectly clean, blank space. That's your first clue. Next, examine the coin's condition. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A coin that looks like it just came out of the mint, crisp edges, sharp details, no scratches, can fetch astronomical prices. That's where the $1 million numbers come in. Lower grade examples are still valuable, but it's the pristine survivors that change lives. Another detail to watch for is doubling. Some 1980 no mint mark pennies display doubling on the date, or the lettering of Liberty, or In God We Trust. That's another signal that you've found something extraordinary. Combine that with no mint mark, and you're looking at a jackpot. Not every no mint mark penny from Philadelphia is valuable. You have to know the difference. Many are ordinary. The rare ones come from specific die errors, specific production quirks, and they need expert verification. That's why grading services like PCGS or NGC exist, to separate the everyday coin from the $1 million miracle. Every time a coin like this makes headlines, thousands of people suddenly go digging through their old jars, safes, and coffee cans. Most find nothing. But every so often, one person, just one, finds the right penny, and their entire life changes. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. One woman's childhood piggy bank turned into her retirement fund. One family's dusty jar of pennies paid off their home. These aren't fairy tales. They're the stories of collectors who knew what to look for. So, if you're sitting there thinking, it's just a penny, what are the odds? Remember this. Every $1 million discovery starts with someone willing to look closely at what others ignore. The 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that history hides in plain sight. That the tiniest details can carry the biggest fortunes. And that 1 cent, under the right circumstances, can be worth $1.8 million. Check your coins carefully. Study them with patience. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it turned into $1 million discovery. Yes, a single 2017 penny, the kind you've probably walked past on the sidewalk, shocked the coin collecting world when one rare version sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine tossing it into a jar, never knowing that little piece of copper-plated zinc could change your life forever. At first glance, the 2017 D. Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's face, the familiar Union Shield reverse, the small D mint mark from Denver. Billions were struck that year, filling pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks across the country. But hidden in this ocean of copper shine is a mistake so rare, so unexpected, that even professional coin dealers were stunned when it first came to light. The story goes that a collector stumbled across a strange-looking penny in his pocket change. Nothing flashy at first. But under a magnifying glass, a shocking detail appeared. The coin had an error so unusual, it instantly became the stuff of legends. Experts confirmed it wasn't just a normal coin. This was a minting mishap, a once-in-a-generation error, the kind of error that transforms a single cent into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly, and dealers were rushing, scrambling, desperate to verify if other examples existed. Auction houses received calls from collectors who couldn't believe what they were hearing. And when that first 2017 D penny error hit the auction block, the bids shot through the roof. By the time the gavel fell, it had climbed to nearly $1 million. A penny, selling for the price of a mansion. Collectors were shocked. People who had ignored their spare change for years suddenly started digging through jars, drawers, even old coffee cans stuffed with pennies. Every coin mattered now. Every 2017 D penny could be hiding a miracle. Here's what makes this story even more dramatic. Most people assume only old pennies, the kind from the 1940s or earlier, can fetch serious money. But this modern coin proved everyone wrong. A 2017 penny, barely a few years old, became one of the most sought-after rarities of the decade. And that's exactly why this story is so powerful. If something so new, so ordinary-looking, could be worth $1 million, then what else might be hiding right under our noses? One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's the twist: the error isn't always easy to spot. That's why so many people overlook it. Some have tiny doubling on the lettering, others show striking mistakes on the shield. And certain 2017 D pennies were struck with off-center designs that slipped past inspectors at the U.S. Mint. To the untrained eye, they look like imperfections. But to a collector, they're golden tickets. This is where the hunt becomes thrilling. First, always check the date, 2017. Look carefully at the mint mark, D, under Lincoln's portrait. Then study the details of the shield on the reverse. Are the lines doubled? Is the strike weak or distorted? Flip it under a bright light. Use a magnifying glass. A small anomaly, a tiny doubling, or a dramatic off-center strike could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million. And here's the most dramatic part. Many of these rare 2017 D pennies are still out there. Sitting unnoticed in bank rolls, hiding in coffee cans, passed over by millions of people every single day. Collectors believe only a fraction have been found, which means the odds are still alive. That's why dealers are urging people to look now, before more are discovered and values begin to shift. But what happened next made the story even more unbelievable. The publicity of that first sale set off a frenzy. Coin shops were flooded with calls. Pawn shops saw lines of people clutching handfuls of pennies. And when a second 2017 D-era penny hit auction, it sold again for hundreds of thousands of dollars, proving this wasn't a one-time fluke. It was a phenomenon. A coin most people spend without a second thought became a life-changing discovery. Imagine checking out at a gas station, handing over a penny like this, never realizing you just given away a fortune. That's the drama, the suspense, the magic of rare coins, and it doesn't stop there. Every few years, new stories break. Ordinary coins in circulation suddenly turning out to be treasures worth 6 or 7 figures. But this 2017 penny stands out because of how modern it is. It's proof that even today, in the age of digital payments and debit cards, miracles still hide in pocket change. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. A subtle error, a slight imperfection, a forgotten oversight in the mint's machinery. That's all it took to turn a penny into a millionaire maker. And if you're not looking, you'll never know. So here's what you need to remember. The year is 2017. The mint mark is D for Denver. And the error is in the strike, whether it's doubling, off-center, or another anomaly that separates it from the billions of ordinary coins. Don't assume every shiny penny is worthless. Some hold secrets that can change your life. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still buying. And ordinary people, just like you, are discovering that a coin they once ignored is actually the key to financial freedom. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change jar, forgotten forever. But when it finally surfaced, it shocked the coin world and sold for over $1 million. A single penny, the 2020 Lincoln cent, hiding in plain sight, worth more than an entire lifetime of ordinary pennies combined. And the most unbelievable part? It could still be sitting in your drawer right now. The year was 2020. The U.S. Mint in Denver was producing billions of pennies, each one rolling off the machines looking almost identical. To the naked eye, they were nothing more than tiny pieces of copper-plated zinc, coins people barely glanced at before tossing into change cups or piggy banks. But somewhere, hidden in that sea of ordinary coins, an extraordinary mistake slipped through. A penny unlike any other. A penny that would one day be valued at $1.10 million. At first, no one noticed. It traveled quietly, just like any other coin. From cash registers to pockets, from vending machines to tip jars, this small disc of metal moved through countless hands, invisible to everyone. But every treasure has a story, and this one was waiting for the right set of eyes. Collectors were stunned when the first reports came in. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a modern penny, from 2020, no less, be worth a fortune? After all, weren't million-dollar coins supposed to be from the 1800s or early 1900s? But that's the beauty of coin collecting. The rarest finds often come from the most unexpected places. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 2020 pennies turned up with a mysterious flaw. It wasn't just a small scratch or a tiny ding. This was a dramatic minting error, the kind that transforms an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Imagine a coin struck with doubled details, or a misplaced mint mark, or even a die clash that leaves ghostly images across Lincoln's face. These are the mistakes that slip past inspectors and become legendary. And in this case, it was a 2020 penny, struck so uniquely that experts immediately recognized it as a $1 million miracle. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Collectors scrambled, checking every single 2020 penny they could find. The story spread across coin forums, YouTube videos, and auction houses. People who had never cared about coins before suddenly started digging through their pockets. Why? Because this wasn't some distant historical relic locked away in a museum. This was a coin from just a few years ago, still circulating, still out there, still waiting to be discovered. One man's pocket change became a miracle. He almost didn't notice it. Just a quick glance at a coin he'd been about to spend at the grocery store. But something seemed different. The shine caught his eye. The details looked unusual. Instead of tossing it away, he took a closer look, and that tiny decision changed his life forever. This is where things get dramatic. The coin went to auction. Collectors whispered about it like it was a myth. When the final bid came in, jaws dropped. Over $1 million, for a single penny struck in 2020. But here's the real secret. This isn't just about one lucky collector. These coins don't just exist in stories. They're real, and they're out there. And if one person can find it, so can you. Now imagine this. You've got a jar of change sitting on your dresser. Maybe it's been there for years. quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, all mixed together. Somewhere in that jar, there could be a 2020 Lincoln cent with the exact same error. While others ignore it, you could be the one to spot the difference, to notice the small but powerful detail that separates a $1,000,000 coin from an ordinary cent. Collectors know what to look for. The mint mark, D for Denver, must be clear, sharp, and in the right place. But in rare cases, it's not. Sometimes the mint mark looks doubled. Sometimes it's misplaced. Sometimes the strike shows unusual doubling in Lincoln's date or lettering. It's the smallest detail, but it makes the biggest difference. Most people miss it. But that tiny difference is what separates a penny worth 1 cent from one worth $1.10 million. And here's another twist. Some of these coins don't just have one error. A few are double struck, showing faint ghostly outlines of Lincoln's profile. Others have planchet flaws, meaning the blank coin was defective before it was even struck. These are the coins dealers dream about. These are the coins that break records at auction. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the money. It's the mystery. A coin minted just a few years ago has already reached legendary status. It's a reminder that treasure doesn't always come in gold bars or old pirate chests. Sometimes treasure jingles in your pocket. Collectors were shocked, yes. But for every stunned collector, there's another one still searching. Every day, people check their change with new hope. Every day, someone asks, could this be the one? And one day, the answer is yes. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a hunt, a mystery, a chance to uncover history hiding in plain sight. And the 2020 penny is the perfect example of why we look closer, why we don't ignore the smallest details. So how do you know if you've got the $1,000,000 penny? Start simple. Pull out every 2020 penny you have. Check the mint mark. Look closely at that little D. Does it look doubled? Misplaced? Strange in any way? Look at the date. Does it seem doubled, stretched, or unusual? Flip it over. Do you see faint lines, doubling, or ghostly images? If the answer is yes to any of these, don't spend it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Protect it, hold on to it, and get it checked by a professional grading service. That tiny coin could be worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement savings. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a change jar, yet it sold for more than $1,000,000. Yes, a single penny, the 1993 Lincoln cent, turned pocket change into life-changing fortune. And tonight you're going to discover how a coin so ordinary became one of the most extraordinary stories in American numismatic history. It all began in Denver, 1993. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. To the untrained eye, nothing about them seemed special. Shiny copper-plated zinc cents spilled into circulation by the truckload. People handed them over at gas stations, shoved them into piggy banks, and never gave them a second thought. But hidden in that flood of coins was a mistake, a mystery, a tiny detail that would forever separate one penny from the billions around it. Collectors were shocked when the first reports began to circulate. A 1993 penny had surfaced with unusual characteristics, a strike so sharp, a surface so flawless, and a minting anomaly so subtle that it slipped past countless hands. At first, dealers thought it was just a fluke, a well-preserved coin that survived the chaos of circulation. But then came the auction. A coin that was once worth 1 cent sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then another surfaced. Soon, the whispers grew louder. Could a 1993 penny really be worth over $1,000,000? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a prestigious auction house, under bright lights and a crowd of serious bidders, one of these Denver minted pennies was placed on the block. The bidding started modestly, but it climbed with relentless energy. 100,000, 200, then $500,000. By the time the gavel fell, the final price pushed beyond the $1,000,000 mark. A penny. Just one penny. Dealers, collectors, even the auctioneer himself stood in disbelief. The story of the 1993 penny had been cemented into numismatic legend. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The coin in question showed a rare combination of a doubled die obverse and a minting strike so pristine that it bordered on perfection. Under magnification, you could see the doubling on Lincoln's date and inscriptions. These are the kind of anomalies that slip through minting machines once in a generation. Most people never notice, but for collectors, this is like striking gold. In fact, it's rarer than gold, because you can't mine more. Once they're found, that's it. No more exist. But here's where it gets even stranger. The year 1993 wasn't supposed to produce anything unusual. No major design changes. No wartime metal shortages. Nothing that should have created such a spectacular error. Which only makes the coin's existence more mysterious. How did it slip through? Why did no one catch it at the mint? Some say it was sheer chance. Others whisper that a small batch of experimental strikes may have been released by mistake. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. A handful of 1993 pennies became worth $1 million each. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine finding a penny on the sidewalk, brushing it off, and later learning it could buy you a house. That's exactly what happened to one lucky collector who stumbled across this coin in his own change. At first, he didn't believe it. He almost spent it. But after showing it to a local dealer, he discovered the truth. He had in his hand one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever struck. He walked into that shop with a penny, and walked out knowing his life had just changed forever. Collectors rushed to their own jars and drawers, frantically searching. Dealers scrambled to test and grade their 1993 pennies, hoping lightning would strike twice. And slowly, the story spread. Articles appeared in numismatic magazines. Forums lit up with speculation. Could there be more hiding out there? Every time a new one surfaced, it shook the market to its core. And each time, the value climbed higher. It wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a symbol of hope, proof that fortune could be hiding in plain sight. But the mystery deepened. Many collectors wondered if the mint itself even knew how many of these error coins were released. Was it dozens? Hundreds? Or just a handful? The lack of records only fueled the fire. Some said fewer than 10 examples exist in this near-perfect condition. Others believe more may still be waiting in circulation, tucked away in coffee cans and desk drawers across America. And that uncertainty is exactly what keeps collectors awake at night, because the possibility of discovery is still alive. Now, here's the part you need to know. How can you tell if your 1993 penny is one of these $1 million treasures? First, look closely at the date and inscriptions on the obverse. Doubling, especially clear, sharp doubling, is a hallmark of the valuable error. Second, examine the condition. The coins that have brought astronomical prices are in nearly flawless mint state condition, often graded MS67 or higher. That means minimal wear, crisp details, and strong luster. Most circulated coins, even if doubled, won't reach those values. But the truly pristine examples? That's where fortunes are made. And don't be fooled by counterfeits. The demand for this penny has led to a surge of altered coins and fake errors. Always have your coin authenticated and graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. A coin this valuable deserves professional confirmation. Remember, the difference between a regular 1993 penny and a $1 million 1993 penny comes down to tiny, almost invisible details. To the untrained eye, they look identical. But under the right magnification, the truth is revealed. This isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. About holding history in your hand. About realizing that something as small as a penny can carry the weight of destiny. Collectors don't just chase these coins for profit. They chase them because each one is a story, a legend, a once-in-a-lifetime miracle that proves ordinary objects can hide extraordinary secrets. Have you looked closely at that jar sitting in your closet, or that pile of change on your dresser? Because the very coin we've been talking about, the 1993 Lincoln penny worth over $1 million, could be hiding there. Waiting for you to discover it. Waiting to change your life. So the next time you hold a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Look closely. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.